I'm Nina Lindia, and I'm thrilled to be here. Number one, that's who I am right now. I'm here to talk about the philanthropic landscape here in Greenwich, which is quite a varsity one as the country goes from any perspective. I'm not from here. I'm from Syracuse, New York. And people don't do philanthropy like this where I came from. And I went to the private school there. So you sort of raise money for your kids' school, and maybe there's an occasional walk run, but it wasn't sort of bred into you as it has been for the people I've noticed that live in this town, have been giving their whole lives, and their parents have been looking for opportunities for them to give their whole lives.
That's true. There's a lot of opportunity here.
It's 100% in the fiber of the being of this town. And that fascinated me very quickly, because when I got here, I wanted to make friends and I wanted to do whatever I hadn't been doing in the city, which was not a ton. So the first and only thing I knew about philanthropy when I got here was my volunteering. The first place I volunteered ever in my life of my own free will as an adult was called the Lighthouse Guild, which is for people with visual impairments, usually very profound ones, including blindness, total blindness, living in Manhattan and navigating Manhattan.
That's
okay.
Really tough.
I moved to New York right out of college. I kept seeing blind people walking. It broke my heart to the point that my emotions were not my own. And I'm like, what is going on here? And I finally said, I got to do something about this, or I'm sort of a slave to this emotional feeling that I have. I went and volunteered for them. I went every Saturday, worked with kids, learned that they absolutely know their way around Manhattan, sure as shit better than someone from Syracuse. And my heart stopped breaking. And I started thinking, okay, like this is good and I can be helpful. But that's really all I knew. And so I sort of took myself to task when I moved here. You know, what breaks your heart? And what broke my heart was lack of opportunity for us to fundraise in different ways, because Pitch Your Peers was born out of really a feeling of stagnation and diffuse giving, where Potter, you know, you're familiar with this. We all send each other emails. We say, this is this cause. It's why it matters to me. Here's a link. And a lot of times we start those emails with, I'm sorry to even ask.
Right.
And I'm going,
why are we sorry?
I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Stop apologizing, start pitching. So I would often, return those emails and say, let me, come to the event, learn what it is. I bet I'll give you more than what you're asking for here.
Yeah.
So that really galvanized the four of us, myself, Dara Johnson, Rachel LeMasters, and Brooke Bonsack, who incidentally founded our chapter in the Hamptons when she moved out there full time.
Okay.
During COVID.
Yeah. So she left us.
The pipe is like a baton.
Okay.
It's like a relay. In this particular allegory. So that's been great for the four of us. And Rachel and Brooke have since moved out of town. And the thing about Pitch Your Peers is it benefits the town in which it is located, and that's part of our bylaws. So nothing can really be pitched that you can't prove it benefits Greenwich. Why is that important? Greenwich has so much. There are, I'll be conservative because I haven't looked at it in a while, 600 plus registered nonprofits with Greenwich zip codes that serve the town of Greenwich and also elements way beyond, including global capacity. And someone is always asking someone for something because of that.
Yeah.
But the giving can be diffuse with so many, and they're all in good standing, like operating nonprofits.
Wow.
What I think we need to do, and what Pitch Your Peers helps you do, is triangulate what breaks your heart.
Right.
Break it down, saying, okay, is it a silo? For me, mostly it's health. I'm a breast cancer survivor. I want to raise money in that capacity. Okay, so the healthcare system in terms of access and in terms of research and how fast it's going, sometimes it breaks my heart. What do? I give back to Breast Cancer Alliance. I co-chair their luncheon. I take that heartbreak and stand on it. And, and it makes me quite tall. And then at the end, I don't feel so heartbroken anymore. I feel really powerful.
I love the idea of what breaks your heart. And that's what you gravitate toward in terms of funding these nonprofits. So I know that last night, Pitch Your Peers had its one meeting of the year. And I think that that's one thing that people love so much.
Just one meeting of the year?
Yeah, no committees, one meeting a year. 4 emails you have to read, which are 4 newsletters. They come out on a predictable schedule. You can delete everything else.
And if you're really involved with Pitch Your Peers and you leave Greenwich, you have to start a chapter somewhere else.
Right. It's required.
I mean, that sounds
no.
So like, yeah. I mean,
no, it's a lot. You know, it's still big to start a new chapter, but we seem to be selling what people are buying. And that's important when you fundraise.
Right. And you listen to the membership. And
Yep.
you'd said it last night. So last night, and I'm just going to set this up so that you can get a visual, but I had gone to a Pitch Your Peers meeting probably 5 years ago when there were around 45 or 50 people in the room.
Yeah.
Last night, there must have been 75 or 80 in the room. And each one of those members,
91 members
contribute a chunk of change for the year.
$1,000 annual membership.
Okay.
Important to note, we are by invitation only.
Yeah.
Yes.
What does that mean? We want to make sure that we're selling what someone's already buying. We want to make sure we're attracting women who understand the philanthropic landscape and have a desire to participate in it.
So invitation only, you mean for the organizations that you contribute towards?
No, I mean our members
Your
have
members,
to be
okay.
nominated.
Gotcha.
It's one nomination. It's an email, but it's basically saying, I'm going to usher this friend in. I vouch for her to not try to change up our process because it works for us. Whereas other organizations that are open to anyone who pays to join, they do invite a ton of sort of opinions, and we just like to control. We want to, like I said, for me, it comes back to, I'm not going to sell anything you're not already buying, or I won't be successful. Right. People that want to be members seek a nomination.
Well, and for somebody that's new to the area that heard about it, is there a way that they can email and raise their hand and like you can go meet them? And I mean, I spend a lot of time with people that are moving into Greenwich that know nothing about it.
Yeah.
And one big question are charities.
Yeah.
They're like, Scott, I went online, I saw 50, and they don't know anybody here either. So like, if there's a way to email you or somebody here to say, this is who I am.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting about this town, and when I moved here and said, okay, I want to get going in this, the barrier to entry is really low if you want to be in a group that has committees.
Yeah.
Because committees work. They meet a lot. They're really essential. They're super essential at BCA. For our luncheon, it's 750 plus people. There's 5 subcommittees, an incredible executive director. So I'm not dinging committees at all. I'm just saying we know how to do that. Yeah. And PIPE is something new. So
what is BCA?
Yeah. Breast Cancer Alliance.
Okay.
Yeah. Breast Cancer Alliance is BCA. So that's sort of a very steadfast crown jewel in Greenwich's cap of, real sexy science.
Yeah, and if you don't mind just explaining a bit, because you did last night about where the BCA started and where it is today, because it blew my mind when you said that last night. I did not know that it was from here.
You know what? That slide that I was talking about last night was just sort of how Greenwich is varsity at giving.
Yeah.
Dreams come true for nonprofits all the time in this town. And generally it just takes one energetic person with a network who makes sure that they don't cannibalize their network with every single thing that they love. Yeah. You go to the people who animals matter to, who Greenwich matters to. I'm not going to go necessarily to the same audience if I need to fundraise for an arts-based organization at all that I would for a breast cancer foundation. Right. So I think that there's a small barrier to entry in terms of the committee level. So that's my suggestion when people move here. Because I'm like, join a committee because you don't have to be nominated, and all of that. People will be so grateful to have you, and you can just show your hard work ethic. Plus, there's no better way to really learn about the organization. Okay, than to volunteer for it. So that's step one. And then after that, make sure you make friends with someone in Pitch Your Peers and get her to nominate you, because at that point you're in. And what does in mean? It's another reason why we try to make this sort of aspirational, not just click here and donate, right. to join, is that all of a sudden anything that breaks your heart breaks our heart. It matters to us. And there's 91 of us. And the board is very strong. So the second someone comes to me and says, can you put this out? Like, it's not just, and also we don't make work for them. So someone says to me, I want to get this, fundraiser out for Greenwich Alliance for Education, and they're fundraising for the 8th grade school trip. Yeah. And here's the turkey trot or whatever. I'm designing that blurb. I'm metabolizing it for the organization because I know no one wants to read a bunch of shit, right. And so we protect our membership
metabolizing. I need to use that word.
And
Yeah.
that is a good word to be using.
I'm
So I keep mentioning last night because last night just so happened to be, and we didn't plan this podcast this way, but last night just so happened to be the one and only annual meeting whereby the entire membership showed up to the beautifully renovated Innis Arden Golf Club conference room.
Shout out.
And we were able, and I was privileged to be in the room, and everyone that pitched. So 3 to 4 pitches happen annually. And last night there were 4 of them. So Nina was a part of one group that pitched. And so each person that pitches or group that pitches has done the research.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
What does pitching mean?
Right.
What's the logistics around?
Yeah.
Great question, Scott.
It is a great question. So the way that it works and the way that we run these newsletters is it's very predictable and formulaic. Yeah. So roughly September, we reach out and say, if you want to pitch, now's the time to step up. If we have 4 pitches, we stop calling for more. Mm-hmm. And that requires submitting our grant proposal form, because essentially what we're doing here is giving grants in an internal RFP. Okay. So larger grant funding organizations will put out an RFP, which is a request for proposals. Mm-hmm. And generally they have grant writers on staff and they write these things. And this is like NIH money, or here, even big money from something like the Fairfield County Community Foundation. These are grant funding organizations. They have RFPs. And they got to have a bunch of meetings and committees and find out who they should send their money to. We cut through all of that crap. We only have an internal RFP. So we're not reaching out to nonprofits. Okay. We're reaching out to women who want to champion those nonprofits. The nonprofits.
Explain that.
Yeah. So the nonprofits themselves are never in the pitch room. It's members only. And Lindsay.
Right.
She appears in a lot of rooms.
She's always, she's welcome in any room.
I try to hide. I wore all black, but they still
in the 203.
Okay, so could you walk me through that again?
Yeah. So where am I starting? So it's members only in the room, meaning that the women who are pitching, we call them grant champions. Why? Okay. They are champions before they win any sort of money because they are championing a cause. Okay. So instead of the nonprofit coming and pitching us and saying, hey, we're Mothers for Others and we're dope and you know it, we're like, yeah, you are. Instead, someone steps up like they did in 2018 and said, Mothers for Others is great. Here's what they need. And we're like, yeah. And you won our second prize grant of 18 grand, which is huge for Mothers for Others. Yeah. And they would have to really make a sizable investment in writing a grant to get that kind of money in other places.
Okay, that's good to know.
And why? Because we trust our girlfriends. So when I stand up there and I say Open Arts Alliance is great, and I have Michelle and Karina with me at my co-grant champions this year, we go to each other for skincare. We go to each other for childcare. Right. We go to each other for flex work life. Hey, can I work out of this office? How about I'm looking to go back to work, but only 20 hours. We come to each other for recommendations on everything. Why not philanthropy?
Right.
Trust
is huge.
We really, the member.
So that's how it started.
That's how it started.
It's okay.
That giving to me felt diffuse. Everybody who was asking me for money, I was giving to, but not a lot. And I also didn't get a lot in return because you get what you pay for. $1,000 to pitch your peers. What a leap we ask these women to take, because it's a grand. You don't even know what's being pitched yet before you commit. Yeah. And we close our books.
But it's a lot cooler than a table at some party. I mean,
100.
That's where
it really is cool. And the other piece is that everyone that does stand up on the podium to pitch the nonprofit that they're believing in is so passionate and has done all of the work to learn about what is needed, where the funds will go, and why this nonprofit deserves the funding. So every member walks out of the room. And by the way, there's a lot of power in women and knowledge, just in case you didn't know that. I know you know that. But every single woman in that room doesn't leave and not talk about it the next day and not share. Did you know about Arts Alliance of Greenwich? Did you know that they work out of a little basement? Did you know that they work with the elderly? Did you know that there's food poverty in Greenwich? Like the percentage, but one of the girls pitched for, what is the app called?
What? That's Food Rescue US.
Food Rescue US.
Everyone should download that app.
Everyone should download the app. I'm going to plug all 4 that got pitched last night. But Food Rescue US, when she put up the numbers on the screen of how much the percentage of food poverty that is here in Greenwich, Connecticut alone.
Yeah.
Especially fresh food poverty.
Fresh food poverty in this town. So the misconception of everyone has everything in this town is not. I mean, it's not real.
And I could go on about that, but I want to, that's where the experts are. I mean, that's where...
And that's part of the local effort of, we're a national philanthropic organization now because of our other chapters, but Seattle money stays in Seattle.
Does it?
Yeah. Once a Pitch Your Peers chapter designates its geographic area, every pitch has to benefit that geographic area or have a Greenwich zip code.
So, but can it be so it has to be a Greenwich organization or a Greenwich, can it be a national organization that has a Greenwich chapter that you...
Of course.
But the money has to go to the Greenwich side?
Yeah.
I don't know how big national organizations work. I mean,
right.
Can you donate to them and they allocate it specifically for certain zip codes?
Yes, but a lot of the larger, like American Heart will have one here. Make-A-Wish has one that's local here. So the geographic area is not something that we're tremendously fastidious about. It's more, the burden of proof is on the grant champion to stand up there and demonstrate that this pitch and that grant will benefit the town of Greenwich.
But like Yale New Haven, which is Greenwich Hospital, you just need to make sure it benefits Greenwich Hospital.
Yeah.
Okay. And you use fastidious. What did you get on your SAT, bro? I mean,
better than my math.
Yeah. Well, the opposite. I mean, seriously.
No.
So it's got to benefit the Greenwich area of the hospital. Okay.
You got to be able to prove that it benefits the town in which Pitch Your Peers is located.
Love it. Okay.
And every town that has a chapter in it benefits from having a pipe chapter.
Yeah.
It's easy money and it's big money.
How do you guarantee that the funds are being used for what they say they're being used for?
Yeah. I mean, the good news is we've given to very established nonprofits that are in this town. We have yet to be faced with sort of a brand new one or something that wasn't already, quite in the mainstream.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we wouldn't, but then we would have more oversight.
Right.
For example, and we also are not like other grant funding organizations in that we are not aggressive about our approach to it. We trust in the town that we live in and the places that our grant champions tell us we can give. However, for example, I just followed up with Emily Fedorko Foundation, which is a beloved local nonprofit started by a family that lost their daughter on the water, OG family. They do tremendous work in boat safety, water safety, teaching all ages. And they're taking over the Chimes building and making that into a water safety facility.
The Chimes building is in Todd's Point.
Yeah.
Which one's the Chimes building?
It's right next to where the
yacht club
windsurfing area, the yacht club.
Oh, yeah.
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 They're calling it Emily's Chimes. They won our second prize grant a few years back. They won matching grants from all over the place, including the town. They're not complete yet. We gave them money in 2019. But I write them an email. They say, yep, we met with Chris Franco. Here's everything that's going on. COVID happened. Yeah. So there is oversight, but there's also tremendous trust in the places that we give to. Like Fedorko is building this amazing building. And
fair enough.
It's at least in a small part towards us because of us.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
It really is. And then how do the nonprofits get chosen? Like the grant champions, if I decide as a member, I want to champion Mothers for Others, how do we go about building that relationship? Is it up to the member, the grant champion?
You just submit our grant proposal form when that newsletter goes out.
Okay.
And you say, I propose that Pitch Your Peers give a grant. I'm going to present on pitch day to prove it. And here's all of the financials. I mean, there's a lot of vetting, honestly, that goes on the front end that makes us very much less worried about the back end.
Yeah.
We have all the financials. We make sure everything's viable. We make sure they can absorb a grant of our size.
Okay.
So whereas,
I was going to say, I know that I saw it on the website, but what the purse is this year, and also that not just the winning nonprofit gets the funds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How does that work?
So now that we've grown and our grant pool is much larger, first year it was sort of winner take all, but we evolve.
Yeah.
We are not stuck in our bylaws. And we said that didn't feel great because honestly, the 3 women that pitched, only one had her actual $1,000 go to her nonprofit.
Okay.
The other 2 did all this work to pitch and then their $1,000 went to this other nonprofit. And as a board, we just said that doesn't feel good. And we want this to feel not just good, great.
Yeah.
So we've changed that. Now everyone who pitches gets money because our grant pool is $111,000 this year.
Okay.
Started at $37,000. Now we hear.
That's incredible.
That's
okay.
awesome.
So Seattle gives away $250,000 a year, and they don't have more members than us. How do they do it?
Okay, so how do we get that up here? Come on.
They donate more per member.
Right.
There are members who will allocate, for example, I give more to Pitch Your Peers every year than my $1,000 dues. Right. I'm not alone in the membership. My parents contribute to Pitch Your Peers. So they don't get a vote. They don't get to be members, but we are a licensed 501c3. Anyone can give us money. So, and many members have just said, let me just silo my local giving through this platform because I trust it. I believe in it. It's all the people who would ask me for money anyway, and I get to learn something. And it really simplifies a lot of that stuff. And if someone is coming at you over and over saying, will you donate to this? Now will you donate? Now will you donate? Girl, pitch. Right. Please. Pitch, please.
I love it. I love it.
And we're like, and here's the platform and here's the money. You don't have to fundraise it yourself. Right. It's right here.
How long is a pitch? I mean, like, how long is your typical pitch? And
if Lindsay and I did it, it would be 47 years long.
Yes. Okay.
We would talk the whole time.
No, I mean, if you've got a badass presenter that knows what she's doing, sub 15, sub 13, really. And that's
if there's
PowerPoint presentation,
PowerPoints, videos, everything goes. This is where the nonprofits can be helpful.
Okay.
Because the grant champions, yes, you should go to the nonprofit and say, I'm going to pitch you guys.
Yeah.
Like I've done for Breast Cancer Alliance. Did not pitch alone, pitch with my dear friend, Hillary Corbin, who's also a survivor. We go to the organization, we say, help us out. Number one thing I'm asking for when I'm pitching, do you have a board member that wants to match whatever we win? Ooh, because pipe women hate to throw away free money. So we've had a lot of our success. When we talk about that, we're nearly $2 million in grants given away across all the chapters since 2016. A lot of that is matches that came through. Okay, if you win the top prize, we have 3 board members here who are going to match it. It's incredibly a spider web effect of goodwill and friendly competition. So we always do encourage that people look for a match. Coffee for Good, which is the one that you did not get a chance to mention, which listen, I pitched last night. I'm president of the organization first.
Yeah.
I hope they run away with it. This pitch was incredible. It serves every single part of our mission statement. It's hyper local. It benefits adults with developmental delays, not only working at Coffee for Good, but here's what we learned last night, because I'm sold on Coffee for Good, just telling me I'll give you money just to keep people working there.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner from my house. It's where I go for any meeting because it forces me to take a pause when I'm ordering coffee. And it always reminds me of how lucky I am and how amazing it is that these kids are getting.
By the way,
and
we're
adults.
The worst what we did today.
I know, we really are. We should have gone to Coffee for Good.
Wasn't it?
I do go to Coffee for next time. I'll bring Coffee for Good. But as Nina was saying, these kids and adults that develop skills, and those skills they can take out into the world. It's an empowerment thing. It's a beautiful thing. And one of the woman who pitched, what's her first name again? I'm sorry. Bibby, her son works there. And so it was really heartfelt. And I just love what they're doing.
I love what they're doing too. And the heartstrings thing, that's the first sort of layer of a pitch.
Yeah.
But what she really was able to do is teach me. I thought I knew a lot about a lot in giving in this town. I had no idea that Coffee for Good, they're fundraising for someone to be their director of sort of outreach.
Yeah.
So if we consider before Country Day had a high school, they had someone who placed everybody in the schools that they wanted to go to and helped them and talked to the school and said, here's our kid. Is this a good fit? And the school says, yeah. And we also would be a good fit for them. And here's why. What our grant will pay for at Coffee for Good is someone part-time for hopefully 2 years, depending on what size grant Coffee for Good wins, to do that. So where are they placing people? Well, Bibby's son now works at Bruce Museum.
That's fantastic.
He's an ambassador. He says hello to everybody. He's very helpful in a lot of ways there. They're ready for Danny and Danny's ready for them. That's what this lady or this gentleman that they hire in this role will ensure. So Bibby's not only getting the word out saying give to Coffee for Good, because of this. This has, absolutely tangential benefit all over the place. And hey, employers, hire these folks. Come to the director at Coffee for Good and say, who do you have that's graduating? Because Coffee for Good is not just giving them employment, it's a training program. And I did not know that till last night.
Yeah, I didn't know
I didn't know that.
I did know that, guys, because I go there almost every day. and it's also in the most beautiful refurbished building. We might have to do an entire episode on it. And I do want to mention the other nonprofit that was pitched last night was Reach Prep, another amazing organization.
Never been pitched before
by a new member, which I loved. So I want to bring it back to philanthropy in Greenwich in general. And if someone were coming to live in Greenwich that was from outside of this town, how would they get involved? I mean, obviously pipe is one option, but how it's overwhelming for most. So how do you get involved? Like, what would your advice be to getting involved in philanthropy? And I know you said,
look for things that have a low barrier to entry and don't expect you to know every single thing about the organization and or this town, because there are committees that run turbo like that. And if you just moved here, you might not be ready.
Well, yeah, so we sort of alluded to the dining, the tables at the events and all that stuff, but I want to separate that group. So somebody that wants to get involved with their time, their energy, their effort. And then what about somebody that just wants to donate, but they don't know where to put the money?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do have a lot of that. I have a lot of, friends and clients that don't have time. They're not looking to be on committees, but they do want to contribute and they want to make sure it goes somewhere appropriate. And they're sort of looking for advice on where to put their money, not their time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm no financial advisor when it comes to this landscape. My superpower is figuring out what breaks someone's heart and saying, I have a solution.
Exactly.
And you can fix it with time or money or effort. That's what I'm good at. I am aware of things that other people aren't aware of in terms of rating nonprofits.
Yes.
So something called Charity Navigator and GuideStar are two things that you want to look at if someone is asking you for money for a new organization, new to you.
Okay, so boss, we need to make sure we put links to both of those.
Yes.
So Charity Navigator and what was the other one?
GuideStar.
So for somebody that is just, they know sort of the area they want to contribute, that's a good resource to make sure the money's being spent efficiently.
In a good way and in a way that sort of you're about. So if you're not into nonprofits that have a lot of personnel, there are those out there. They do tremendous work, but it takes a tremendous team. And if you don't want to see your money go to payroll, it's really hard to avoid that with some of those heavy personnel organizations. So I mean, I'm all about the grassroots. It's hard to answer that question without me getting to ask my question, which is what breaks your heart?
Totally.
And then I'm like, I'm like that Rolodex that you guys have.
But can they give money directly to you and say, you guys do with it what you think?
Of course. And we also are eligible for, corporate matches with our members. If they're, wherever they work or wherever their spouses work, we're eligible for all of that good stuff. But I do wish that there was a way that we could tell people about Pitch Your Peers and say, you can contribute to this hometown initiative. You can trust these women, because then men can give too.
Right.
Well, and that's sort of where
I can't join.
That's sort of where I'm thinking of that. I'm like, okay, here's a group of intelligent people that I support what they support.
Right.
I've got a couple extra bucks.
Yeah.
Can I just give it to you? And you guys, I trust in you to put it to efficient places.
100%. Yeah. And I think sometimes that's where we miss out. We're not a flawless organization, and we don't, we're a collaborative women's organization, but we miss out on half the population.
Right.
But
do you say,
go ahead. Not if I can contribute.
Of course, but you can't vote.
And I'm not looking for the
vote.
I'm more like I want to contribute to organizations that you believe in and that will
because you trust.
I trust Nina.
Right. Yeah. Now, do you send reports to everyone who donates?
Who donates? What do you mean? Everyone who donates is generally just a member.
Right.
Our donations, our big revenue is membership dues.
And do they get reports?
They get a tax letter, as terms of anything official, but our newsletters are reports.
Okay.
So that's why we've really worked hard on streamlining this information. And it also, social is great for this because all of our pitches live on our social. They all live on our website. Yeah. We can see where past money went to.
And that's pitchyourpeers.com and on Instagram, pitchyourpeers or .org. Oh, I'm sorry. Pitchyourpeers.org. Scratch the .com. It's a .org.
We'll make
and
sure.
On Instagram, it's Pitch Your Peers.
Yep.
And
type Seattle, PYP Seattle, Pitch Your Peers Chicago, Pitch Your Peers the Hamptons.
Who came up with Pitch Your Peers, the name?
The four of us. Yeah. I think we were sort of saying, well, what are we? What are we doing? And can we make it cute? Yeah. And then I'm like, can we, have an acronym? And we were, this was 8 years ago.
It took me a second. When you said pipe, I'm like, what?
The why. The why. Yeah. And we do. Our newsletter is called The Pipeline. We do overuse the pipe puns, which I feel like also would not work with a men's collaborative group. Like,
come on.
Pipe men.
Jokes. Like, give me a... Yeah, we're going to leave it at that.
All day long.
Yeah.
I laid that joke.
I want to tell you that the boss wants to work for you. She's texting me. Can I work for Nina?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. So any final thoughts or words of encouragement for people in the community looking to get into the nonprofit space? Where to learn more?
Yeah. Check us out. Check out Pitch Your Peers. Shout out to another organization that was founded around the same time here in Greenwich, which is called Impact 100.
Gotcha.
Founded by wonderful women, Wendy Block, Vicki Craven. They're Fairfield County big. You just can sign up online. You don't have to be nominated. They are much more rigorous about if you are someone, listen, I'm saying Pipe doesn't have committees because the women we recruit don't like committees, but committees are crucial. Like I said before, if you're looking to really know where this investment is going, they give out in triplicate the amount of grants that we give out. Wow. So when someone comes to us and say, no one's pitching us, we want to be pitched, I say, reach out to Impact. Okay. We want to be like them when we grow up. Why? They're in every state and they give away a ton of money and they do it really well. So if you're new to town and no one's nominating you for Pitch Your Peers, or you're not about it because there's a barrier to entry, and that's cool. Some people feel that way. Always look at Impact.
Okay, I have one last question that I don't think has been covered, but if I run a nonprofit and I am looking for funding, which they all are always, I understand that, how do I get in touch with someone at Pipe? How does that
Whenever they come, if a nonprofit comes to us, which they do, and they say, we'd love to apply for one of your grants, then I say, you haven't visited our website. And so then they visit our website and they say, oh, we can't apply for these grants. And then they say, okay, how do we get on the docket here? And I say, ask your board members first, because those are the people that really believe in the organization. So a board member is the best person to pitch our organization because they know what they're talking about. Their chairwoman of the board can join Pitch Your Peers and come and pitch it, but the organization can't. They have to be a member and then they have to be nominated. So I always say sort of cast a net into the board first. And after that, who are your really enthusiastic volunteers? Put out a note to everybody that follows you. Do we have any Pitch Your Peers members? But that's all on the up and up, like all's fair, when going after this kind of money. And in terms of, if I can just pivot to advice for people who ask for money all the time, like I do. I love Lil Nas X. You want to sell what they're buying. Do not pitch animals to someone who doesn't even have an animal. Yeah. That's my secret thing is asking people what breaks your heart. Yeah. I'm really saying, what can I pitch you on one day?
What interesting.
Yeah. What do I know I can come to you? And I didn't tell you. I didn't write you an email and say, you should care about this. You told me that shit. So I am obviously going to come to you for money and it's expected. And that's so set that up.
Well, it's like kids. You to go to mom or dad. Yep. Like you know what parent is
the expectation. Yeah. And I really don't want to sell or pitch anyone something that doesn't already matter to them. The other thing is in terms of donors, if I can I was thinking about this on the way over here, and I don't know when you guys will send this all out, but if it's before end of year appeals, they really matter to nonprofits. It's a huge part of the bottom line. And we're all maxed out on giving. Pay some attention to end of year appeals. And I just always say, give what you won't miss.
What is an end of year appeal?
An end of year appeal is what all the nonprofits do. They send out, hey, one last shot, or sometimes they'll have like a match campaign, something like that they're saving in their pocket. Certainly Breast Cancer Alliance does everything at the end of the year. Yeah. When you're asked out, I urge everybody to continue to give what you won't miss. Don't give what upsets you. Don't give what you feel they're not entitled to at all. Yeah. Give what you feel great about giving and really think about, even just like with tipping your wait staff. Right. What if I make this person's day and double their tip from 12 to 24 and you won't miss it? Do that shit because it will make you give back more and more. The feedback loop on that stuff is unbelievably powerful. I hope we all give what we won't miss. Always and exclusively
and confirming you can take donations from outsiders like me.
Yes, we'd love men to donate to the pipeline
or anybody. Yeah, I mean, I when I leave this, I know a lot of people that were like, look, I don't know where to put. I just want to get involved.
We're a solid local investment, very solid, and we do things in a fun way.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being here, Nina. I've learned so much. I always do in your presence, and I know that Scott has too. I'm getting as close to the mic. Hot mic. We're learning how the mic. Just sorry. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. We're excited to get this episode out, and it's always a joy to learn about anything.
I love you guys for having me, and I love you guys for doing this. This is great for our town, what you're doing.
Thank you for being our first guest. We will see you guys later.
See you later.
Bye.